name's Jackie Farrell. I'm 19 years old and I'm a freshman at Eugene Lang. I'm from Virginia, like Central Virginia, where UVA is. I'm a trans woman. I use she and her pronouns. I haven't done any like hormone therapy or anything. I just mainly I haven't done anything like sort of more permanent changes with it. I just sort of mainly with the way I present myself and the way I my lifestyle and stuff I guess have changed, but I haven't done any medical changes or anything. I was designated male at birth, and then when I was around, I sort of always felt a little off with the male designation, and when I was around 16, I really felt weird with it, and sort of by the summer after my sophomore year in high school, I was identifying more as genderqueer. I knew I wasn't a boy, but I wasn't really sure exactly what I was. And then at the beginning of my junior year of high school, I talked to this other trans woman that a friend of mine knew, and I talked to her about her experience, and a lot of it really resonated with me, and I sort of decided that I identified as a trans woman. And then I just sort of slowly came out to my friends and people around me, and then eventually my family. They were taken aback for sure. It was just sort of something that they had never experienced or had any real practical knowledge of. But in the sort of years since I first came out to them, I've sort of just explained it more to them, and they've done research on their own, and we've just sort of kept open communication, and they're cool. They're cool with it. They don't necessarily understand it, but they trust me, and they trust that I'm staying open with them, and they're cool with it. Yeah. I never really had a big coming out day where it was today I am out. It was mainly just sort of as time went on, I let more and more people know. I mean, I wasn't sort of as publicly out in home as I was once I moved away. It was much more of a sort of case by case thing where all my sort of close friends knew, and most of the people most people who were close to me knew, but it wasn't everybody knew. The high school I went to was really small. There was only 30 kids in it, and sort of really most of the people there knew, but people didn't even most of the teachers knew, but it wasn't really talked about as much, and sort of on paper and stuff I was still considered a boy and everything. A lot of sort of just day by day things where it's every time somebody on the street misgenders me, calls me sir or something, it's not that bothers me a lot, but then sort of a full day of that really, by the end of the day I'm just really done. And it's a lot better now that I'm in a situation where everybody in sort of everybody in my personal sphere knows that about me and respects that about me, rather than before where it was there were only a few spaces where I felt really safe being myself. So now it's much more of a sort of societal thing, I guess, and a lot of my sort of the negative feelings I have are more anger rather than sadness, and I'm not it's not I get really depressed at the end of every day. It's mainly just sometimes I'm just fucking pissed that all of this stuff has to happen and that people aren't recognizing of this, and much less on a sort of personal for me thing, and more of a society in general doesn't recognize this significant aspect of society. But I think if people had more of an understanding of the the fact that gender and sex aren't the same, and the idea that gender is this social construct rather than a biologically determined thing. I think that's like the big first step. I guess like the thing I see the most that is wrong is this idea that like trans people are like born one gender and then change into another one, where like people will describe like a trans woman as like they were born a boy and then they became a girl, and that's not the case. It's like they were assigned a gender, and then they understood that the gender they were assigned was not correct for them. I guess the term I'd use for my sexuality is queer, but I think like a lot of sort of traditional terms for sexuality don't, like I really use queer because it rejects any traditional like terms for sexuality, because I think in general they sort of don't make any sense once you understand the separation of gender and sex. So like I sort of in the long term I describe my sexuality as like I like people, like whether I'm sexually attracted to someone or romantically attracted to someone is really totally, their gender or sex is totally irrelevant to that. And like I like someone and then they might be a boy, they might be a girl, they might be genderqueer, they might be something else, but that's not relevant to whether or not I'm attracted to them. I mean, like one good thing was that once I moved out here, I was able to sort of like publicly be out as trans. It was nice that like I didn't have to sort of like correct people as much on my name, because whereas like at home, people knew me as my birth name, and then I had to correct them like to call me Jackie, not my birth name. Whereas here, everyone knew me. I introduced myself to them as Jackie, so that there was never this sort of misconception, like having to change the name I tell people know me as. I guess like I think assigning names to genders is weird, and sort of like saying like, well, this is a boy's name, this is a girl's name, because it's like no, it's just like it's your name. Whatever your name is your name, whether you're a boy or a girl or something else is you. I think it's important as far as your identity goes, because it's sort of like, I mean, so much of your identity is wrapped up into your name. And I think a big part of sort of choosing a name when you transition is the sort of like leaving behind the things that were affiliated with the name you were assigned, and saying like, okay, well now I'm Jackie and Jackie is a girl, and those are totally like interconnected, and people aren't going to confuse the two. I like that I'm able to sort of have this long, like, full name that is very feminine and sort of has all these historical feminine connotations with it, but then a day-to-day go by Jackie, which is more casual, a little bit more gender neutral. It's short for Jacqueline, which has these sort of like traditional like feminine connotations with it, but then it can be shortened to Jackie, which is what I go by in sort of every day. I feel like personally like fits me better. I'd like to do hormone therapy eventually, but right now it's sort of just like, it's not the biggest it's not the biggest thing on my mind, and it's kind of just like I have other shit I need to deal with right now. Pretty okay with my body and everything right now, so I'm fine with putting it off until I have really the time to devote to something as important as that. I think it would be nice to have my body look more the way I'd want it to, but it's sort of like, it's the same as just like getting body modifications or something. It's like, I mean, it's a bigger deal, but like the reason I'd want to go through hormone therapy is similar to the reason I'd want like a piercing or something, in the sense that like in my mind, this is sort of the best way to physically relate how my inner self is. So I'd like to do that, but I think it's sort of like I'm a woman, I'm Jackie, that's not going to change. going through hormone therapy, getting any kind of surgeries isn't going to change that fact. It will just make me physically look more the way I feel.